Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen, all in crypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another jam-packed daily market update. If you're new around here, we drop one of these around 1 p.m. UK time every single day, so do check out that subscribe button. We are becoming one of the fastest growing cryptocurrency channels and certainly surviving what can seem like a boring time in the cryptocurrency space. And I think the reason being is because we're showing you it's anything but that. There's always amazing things taking place. This technology is truly going to grip the world in a monumental fashion. And there's always news to cover. And today we're going to be bringing you two main headlines. It's been an eventful 24 hours. There's lots of things that have gone on. Obviously, we're getting all the feedback from Consensus and some of the things that have been said there. We do have Sarah on the ground there. She was showing off the XRP vending machine yesterday. So shout out to her, doing a wonderful job. But the two main headlines I'd say over the past 24 hours, I'm going to start on the most pressing one, would be the Coinbase hack. Now, good and bad news here. It's a hacking of user data, not funds. So the good news is no funds have been hacked or stolen. The bad news is user data has been, and this has been or taken place due to, they suspect, their overseas employees or operations. Essentially, there being a bad actor or somebody that's been bribed to gain or to allow hackers to gain access to user data, in which they're now bribing Coinbase to $20 million to get back in Bitcoin. And Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, essentially said, we need to deliver justice and look to crack down on scammers more broadly. Brian Armstrong said, no, we're not going to give you the 20 million. We're going to give 20 million to someone else to find you. And I like that approach because these people need to be found. They need to be brought to justice. And of course, if you get any phone calls, any whatever it is, please ignore them. Use your common sense. Never give everybody a password. Never give anybody your personal information. They may already have it if they've managed to, or with the hack of Coinbase. It is sub 1%, so it's a small amount of the population that use Coinbase in terms of data, but it's still not a great look at all. I, of course, own Coinbase stock. I think it's going to do very well despite this, but it's something that we need to address and deal with and inform you guys on. So good news is there was no funds hack. Bad news is about sub 1% of Coinbase's user base's data, personal information, phone numbers, addresses, whatever, has been leaked. And of course, this may be used to socially encourage people to get hacked further. So you always take on inherent risk with these exchanges, centralized exchanges, through breaches of data and things like this. And certainly we saw with Bybit, that was an insane situation that we've all lived through. We've lived through so many. I mean, it's like dog years in the crypto space. But we will be covering that and breaking it all down. And then, of course, there's big news. Judge Torres has denied the party's motion for an indicative ruling in the SEC versus Ripple, Brad and Chris case, which means the case is still ongoing and hasn't quite ended yet, which is insane. An agreement has been reached, but the judge has denied it. So I'll break all that down. Then we've got some stuff in regards to the Genius Act, which is big. People aren't quite covering it as much as it needs to be covered. But what I want to do to kick things off is cover the pressing matter, and that is what's taking place with Coinbase. And we're going to go over to Brian Armstrong's Twitter and look at the press release he released, or the video he released on the back end of all of this. Let's get into it.
Hey everyone, I want to make you aware of a disturbing email that we received recently at Coinbase. It was a ransom note demanding $20 million in Bitcoin in exchange for these attackers not releasing some information they claim to have obtained on our customers. Now, we like to do things transparently here at Coinbase, and so I'm going to respond publicly to these attackers by saying, no, we are not going to pay your ransom. In fact, I have a few next steps in mind that I'm going to share at the end of this video. But for the rest of you watching, wondering what happened, we did an investigation here, and these attackers have been approaching our overseas customer support agents, looking for a weak link, someone who would accept a bribe in exchange for sharing some customer information with them. Now, our support tools have limited access to customer information. There was no passwords or private keys or funds accessed as part of this. But customer support agents do have access to personal information like name, date of birth, address, etc. And attackers still want access to this information because it allows them to conduct social engineering attacks where they can call our customers, impersonating Coinbase customer support, and try to trick them into sending their funds to the attacker. Now, unfortunately, they were able to find a few bad apples. Our systems are designed to mitigate the impact of something like this. So less than 1% of our monthly transacting users had their records accessed, but this is still unacceptable. And I want to tell you what we're doing about it. So first, any customers that were socially engineered as a result of this incident, we're going to reimburse them. There's more details on our website, on our blog post about the reimbursement process. You can read more there. Any customers who have been impacted by this or have been notified at this point. Number two, we're hardening our systems around customer support to make something like this much more difficult in the future. And third, we're actually relocating some of our customer support operations as a result of this. But the last step is maybe the most important, which is that instead of paying this $20 million ransom, we're turning it around. And we're putting out a $20 million award for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of these attackers. For these would-be extortionists or anyone seeking to harm Coinbase customers, know that we will prosecute you and bring you to justice. And now you have my answer.
On Brian, it's not great that this has happened at all. These things do happen. Gilbert Verdrin, a man I respect greatly, you know, he is cybersecurity is his thing, and actually, you know, we can fix some of the links the weak links in the internet through using smart contracts and things like this. But you know, these things do happen. I need to be extra critical about Coinbase and what's taken place, even though I'm a shareholder. The reason I am a shareholder because I think it's going to be an amazing company. It already is. And these things do happen, but I should be critical of them and say, you guys need to do better. And really stop going and overseeing or taking your customer service overseas to cheap countries where you know you can get cheap labor. If you, you know, you get what you put in, really. If you pay, I was going to use a phrase there, but if you pay for cheap labor in other countries, you know, these things can happen. And I think we're all sick of how bad customer support has got generally. I'm not just referring to Coinbase. You try and ring first of all, they'll probably hide the number or make it encrypted to find. Then they'll probably try and get you to do it via email or something like that. And then if you do speak to someone, that's a challenge within itself, you know. Yeah, so this isn't great. Less than 1% of monthly transacting users have been affected by this, but it's still affected. They've identified the problem and they'll bounce back from this, I think. And the stock, of course, did take a bit of a hit after, you know, really soaring the other day on the back end of the announcement. I mean, the falling wedge we've got all these falling wedges, right? I don't want to brag too much, guys. But the falling wedge that we were looking at on Coinbase, you know, you've broken up, you ran into some resistance, you pulled back on this sort of data leak news, this hack news. You'll see continuation. I think Coinbase could be a $1,000 plus stock eventually. We've certainly got a target of 411 that we've had all the way since we've been accumulating it down here. But yeah, it's not great. I just wanted to report on this because it's important. Some of you may be affected. If you are, certainly if you've been social engineered and you've lost funds, do go through the reimbursement process. And Coinbase is taking accountability, which is something we need to see. These things happen all the time. We see it with governments constantly, NHS constantly getting hit with data breaches. And I like his approach of saying, no, we're not going to pay you this. We're going to give it to someone else to come after you. And there needs to be a united effort by the cryptocurrency industry to essentially do that. I do believe it. So, not good news at all, but we want to bring it to you nonetheless. I don't think it's going to affect Coinbase's stock. It sold off yesterday, but they'll continue to rock and roll, in my opinion. Yesterday, there was also some bad news. Judge Torres has denied the party's motion for an indicative ruling, meaning a finalization and settlement of the case. If jurisdictions were restored to this court, the court would deny the party's motion as procedurally improper. So what seems like horrific news, they're just saying the procedure hasn't been followed and it's technicalities that she's denying it on, not the settlement. I mean, she can't really deny the settlement, right? The two parties that are involved have both kind of came together and said, okay, we're going to settle this. She's essentially just saying procedurally improper. Eleanor Tourette great person to follow. She's given a scoop on this new after speaking with 3 legal sources and tuning into John E. Deaton's live analysis. My read is that Judge Torres is playing hardball here. She's not making it easy for the parties to simply walk away. Instead, she'll make them work for it. I mean, bureaucracy at its finest there, ladies and gentlemen. There needs to be a reach for relevancy here. Deaton raises a valid point. From Torres' perspective, the SEC has spent the past 5 years doubling down on the narrative and legal strategies that resulted in thousands of hours of legal and jurisdiction manpower. And your tax monies. Your government loves you. It's there to serve you, and it's there to enrich you and really see you thrive. And remember, they work for you. They've wasted a hell of a lot of money on this case, and I think actually you can kind of see the whole, well, hang on, this was just all for nothing and a nonsense anyway. And it was. We've always said that. Legal only for the agency to suggest that those 5 years were essentially a waste. Yeah, this could result actually in a positive thing, because there might be some retribution from the SEC side of things. I think there should be. And maybe, Ripple end up winning this and getting a real reimbursement back or something like that. I don't know. While Torres has denied their initial request, she's outlined a clear path forward, providing the SEC and Ripple can meet the legal standards and present a compelling case that withdrawing her ruling is in the best interest of the public and institutional buyers of XRP. Stuart Adultery mentioned Ripple will work with the SEC to revisit the issue together. Pretty wild considering they've been on opposite sides for nearly 5 years. It'll be even more interesting to see if Torres eases up once they've done the necessary work, or will she stick to her guns and make this more of a political fight? I think she's, people are very against her ruling, and I guess so am I. Okay, we've wasted 5 years. Let's not waste another 6 months. Let's finish it. There's no point in, it's kind of like cutting your nose off to spite your face. But she's highlighting a valid point. You guys have waged war on not just Brad, Ripple, and Chris, but XRP and its entire community, and you've stifled a technology that's going to play a key role in revolutionizing the financial system in doing so. You've hurt a lot of people in this. And to just call it quits, well, hang on. Yes, I think that's a good thing, and it should happen, and we shouldn't add another 6 months to those 5 years. But you can kind of get why she's going, well, what? Are you just admitting this is a waste? Surely there should be, and there may be some penalisation coming out of the SEC as a result of all of this. I'm ranting with so much. My job is so easy because there's always so much happening in the cryptocurrency space. I know that's why a lot of you guys subscribe to find out about it. People just don't pay attention to all the amazing things happening. And talking about sort of legal procedures, John Thune goes ahead with cloture filing on the Genius Act with a vote on Monday. The act aims to establish regulatory framework for full stablecoin adoption. It's coming. Stablecoins are the evolution of money. Democrats argue that the bill would enable untraceable crypto donations in elections. There's one thing public ledgers are really good at doing. It's accounting or providing provenance. It's kind of the whole point, right? You've got this ledger of accounts essentially that's kept globally, and that's the powers there. And you can sort of trace it. Blockchain. It's a chain of blocks that there's a kind of linear progression to, or like even a hash graph. You can trace all this stuff. So their argument is weak. I always find it hilarious how politics works. US system is actually not a bad one, I don't think. Nirvana's not for this world. I think it's got some pros over perhaps our system here in the UK. But again, Nirvana's not for this world. Nothing's perfect. But this is huge. If this passes, you then have everybody enabling stablecoins and looking to use and utilize them, and the evolution of money taking place. Cryptocurrency market, just a little bit dull over the past couple of days. S&P's been a little bit flat as well after this recovery. I think people are a little bit worried about these gaps potentially getting closed, certainly on the weekly. Could happen. My opinion is this is going to entirely retrace, and you're going to see major continuation. And that's, crypto is going to bask in that sun, in my opinion. And really, it's just ran into resistance. And we'll eventually push through. We've been writing it so far. I think we're going to continue to do so. Really nice wicks coming in here. I wonder if there's anything on the smaller time frames. Just looking at that. Yeah, potentially. I could see something setting up here and leading to continuation. We'll see. Could break down. In the short term, longer term, you guys know where we're heading. It's going to be a great time. It is already a great time to be a crypto investor. There's never been a better time, certainly as it relates to the altcoin sector. We've just got various things to contend with. So that is it from me. Coinbase news isn't great. We've broken it down. Hopefully it gives you guys a bit of clarity, and we've warned some people if they are at risk. I think Coinbase does well and recovers. I'm personally a big sort of shareholder of them. So I am very critical of this. They need to do better. We need to do better generally with customer support. I understand saving money and I'm a couple of businesses. I get it. But it's, if it's leading to this kind of things, then it's an issue that needs to be addressed. And hopefully they do better in regards to it. And the SEC news, really just a technicality that she's ruled it not sort of coming to a finalization on the back end of. And I think she brings up some good questions. Hang on. You guys have been doing this for 5 years. You're just going to call it quits? And all of this was a waste of time, and all the damage that's been done, and all the money that's been spent, and all the manpower and waste of government resources and taxpayer. And, there should be really retribution, actually, I think. And I can understand why Ripple might not want to push that, because then it's a whole thing again. But we need to hold governments accountable. We have to abide by certain standards. They don't seem to have to do so. It would be very interesting if it was two private entities going after each other. I think it would be a totally different ballpark. And then, of course, the Genius Act is going to be voted on Monday. It's progressing a little bit. Democrats sort of being a bit hesitant to it. And then when it comes to the cryptocurrency space, technically, you guys know what we think. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Have a fantastic Friday. I'm going to see you over the weekends.